Do you ever think along the lines of like setting aside a specific budget to test a new webinar, or kind of how do you approach kind of determining whether something new is working versus not?
Yeah, great question. So for me, I well, I've been lucky. I mean, I've been lucky in the sense that my webinar from day one has worked. But I mean, I don't want to say lucky. I put the work in, but but
Yeah.
but it's done well and stuck with it. However, one of the things that I've changed and I've made tests on the webinar, the core of the webinar stays the same, the pitch stays the same, the offer stays the same. I've things I've split tested would be the initial 2 to 3 minute introduction of the webinar. So there's been times where it's just a slide and you don't see me. There's been times where I'm on camera for that 2 to 3 minutes, and then I say, hey, let me go on to my slides, and then we go to the slides. And then the other thing I've split tested too is the actual cover slide, in terms of what's being said on the webinar. And then the one last thing I've done too is I've almost done kind of like an infomercial type of intro where you have like it's just a barrage of like testimonial videos and stuff, and then there's a little countdown, and then it goes into the actual webinar. So I've tested those all out. The one that works the best and so far has always been the slide. You don't see me, and it's just old school slides, which is always funny. I always tease my video team because I'm like, I don't know why I need you guys, because I just did.
I'm paying you too much.
Okay, too much. I just need the slides.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. If you're enjoying the show, just a quick reminder to press the like button, subscribe to this channel for more useful monetization tips, and turn on notifications so you don't miss all of the great tips coming up in future episodes. And thank you for sharing this episode with your friends and colleagues. I really appreciate it.
Mhm.
So when it comes time then to scale something, you duplicate the ads and you reach kind of a certain kind of critical mass of quantity of ads, and then instead of duplicating, do you start scaling like the actual ad spend on these itself, or do you group them all into a CBO campaign? How do you scale
Yep.
them?
So I always start initially. I'm starting with just ad set budgets initially, for my campaigns, because I want to get enough conversions on that pixel. Then once the pixel has 50, 100, kind of sales on that pixel, then you can start to go a little bit bigger and broader, and you can do more CBO, which is basically optimizing your budget at the campaign level. And that's when you can do bigger budgets, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 a day. But even at the ad set level, like when you're duplicating, I'll duplicate an ad set, say it's $20 ad set. I'll duplicate it 5 times at $20. And if I find those do really well, the next time I duplicate, I'm going to duplicate at $100 each, right? Or I'll duplicate at $250 each. So you don't have to just stay at a low budget. You can definitely increase on that. That's not a problem whatsoever. And that's the goal, because once you get to those 250s, those 500s, ad set budgets, then things happen a lot quicker. And at a higher ad set budget, I like that too, because it doesn't mean you have to spend that full amount, right? So if you're, say, you duplicate at $500 on an ad set, the first, $50, $100 spent, you're not seeing it perform, like you just pause it, right?
Yeah.
But the upside is, if it does work, like now you have a ton of runway on the ad set that you can let it keep going and running. So that's the way we do it. And then really, once you want things get more, I always find things get more interesting and more consistent on campaigns. Once you start to get to that like $2,000 to $3,000 a day spend on your campaigns, that's when you start to see that consistency start to happen. A lot of people get frustrated in the beginning because they're like, oh man, some days I get sales, some days I don't get sales. Well, you're spending $100 a day, so that's why.
Yeah.
It's just a numbers game. It really is. Yeah.
And you guys are running like just-in-time webinars, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. All just in time. Yep.
Have you tested like that against like a scheduled like event at like a few days down the road?
So we have done some. So we've done our just in time is kind of our bread and butter. That's what's always worked for us. We have done some other ones, but you have to frame it a little bit different. You have to frame it more of like as like more of an event, or like a summit, or more of a challenge, or something like that. That's when you have to do it that way, because if you just say, hey, this is, we got this workshop, it's taking place on this date, there's not a lot of excitement around that. there's not a lot of attention to grab. But if you say that, hey, this is like a summit, we're doing a exclusive summit, or we're doing a a limited time challenge, or we're doing then there's like there's some scarcity there, right? There's more reasons for people to want to actually do it, as opposed to like a training or a workshop. Like that's trainings or workshops are not as exclusive sounding as like a summit or like a live event or whatever. That's people are more conditioned to be like, okay, it's an actual summit. Like that means like, okay, it's only happening once. Okay, got it. Now I understand why I can't register today, sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
So what kind of like metrics are you looking for, when it comes to the actual webinar funnel itself? So you've got the registration page, there's probably a waiting room, then there's the webinar itself. Like, can you walk us through maybe some of the metrics that you're looking to achieve along the way that kind of, makes you believe you're on the right track?
Yeah. So, well, there's a couple different metrics. So the first one is show up rate is important for the webinars. So, we kind of hover around about 60 to 65% show up rate on our evergreen type of webinar, which I know is kind of where.
When you say show up rate, you mean the quantity of people that opt in to the waiting room and then actually no.
No, they actually are actually on the webinar. Yeah, because the way we have it, I guess the waiting room is an important piece too, because the way we have it set up, like there is we use Webinar Jam there. We use the waiting room, but we have it coded so that people can just watch right away. So they don't have to wait the 2 to 3 minutes, for the waiting room, or 15 minutes for the next thing to start. Like they can get in there right away. So that's the way we have that set up. So that's helped a lot. We used to not do that, and that definitely, then our show up rate was like, 45%, 50%. I mean, it was much lower. So, having the ability for someone to go on the ad, click the ad, register for the webinar, and then be able to click and watch the webinar right away. I mean, that's why we've been able to increase our show up rate to that 60 to 65% range. So that's been really important for us. That's one metric for sure. And then as far as conversion rates, like, we need to be in that 1.5% to 2% kind of range in order for it to make sense and actually work. And so that's from like, lead to purchase. Like that's got to be in that 1.5% to 2% range. And so that's what we've done. And then one of the things we've done to kind of help that out quite a bit is actually our newer offer, which is, we have our commission hero offer, which is a $1,000 product. But now we have our Hero AI offer, which is what we're running mostly now, which is a $2,000 product. Our conversion rate is still is just over 1.5. It's like 1.6% at the moment on a 2K product. So, Commission Hero was running like a 1.7, 1.8 on a at a $1,000 product. So now the math is much more exciting. So now we're getting paid twice as much for basically the same amount of conversion rate. And so that's allowed us to kind of keep on scaling up, which has been really helpful. So that's an important metric for sure too. Yeah.
So if you enjoyed this clip and you'd like to benefit from more monetization secrets, go and register now for Monetization Daily. You can go to monetizationresearch.com to get it. It is a free newsletter that is absolutely awesome. It is delivered to your email inbox, and it contains lots of great monetization tips, tactics, and strategies that you will love. Again, head on over to monetizationresearch.com to get it now.